Paper 1 Year 2011. Section A, 25 marks. 1. Give 2 unwritten sources of information on history and government. 2 marks. Oral traditions, oral source. Archaeology, paleontology. Genetics. Linguistics. Anthropology. Any 2x1 equals 2 marks. 2. What was the main reason for the migration of the Eastern Bantu from Shugwaya during Pre-Colonial period? 1 mark. Due to attacks by the Gala. 1x1 equals 1 mark. 3. Give 2 reasons why Kenyan communities fought against each other during the pre-colonial period. 2 marks. Competition for land for cultivation, settlement. Competition for water, pasture. To demonstrate their military power. To raid for cattle. Any 2x1 equals 2 marks. 4. Identify the 2 main items of trade from the interior of Kenya during the long distance trade. 2 marks. Ivory. Slaves. 5. Identify 2 contributions made by the early Christian missionaries in the field of education in Kenya. 2 marks. They set up schools, encouraged Africans to go to school. They taught Africans how to read, write. They taught Africans vocational skills. They translated the Bible into African languages. They wrote books, dictionary. Any 2x1 equals 2 marks. 6. Give the meaning of the term national integration. 1 mark. It is the process of bringing together people of diverse backgrounds in a country. 1x1 equals 1 mark. 7. What constitutional amendment made Kenya return to a multi-party state? 1 mark. Repeal of Section 2A of the Constitution in 1991. 1x1 equals 1 mark. 8. Name the document which contains the rights of the child in Kenya. 1 mark. The Children's Act of 2001. 9. Identify 2 economic benefits of the Kenya-Uganda Railway during the colonial period. 2 marks. It facilitated the transportation of goods, services. It led to the development of urban centers. It facilitated the movement of traders, promoted trade. It opened up the interior for economic development, e.g. plantation, agri, and industry. It led to the creation of employment opportunities. It led to the development of other forms of transport and communication, e.g. roads and telecommunication. It was the major source of revenue for colonial authority. 10. Give 2 ways through which the white settlers acquired land in Kenya during the colonial period. 2 marks. The colonial government provided land to the settlers. The white settlers bought land from the colonial government. The colonial government passed land legislations that encouraged white settlers to own land. Any 2x1 equals 2 marks. 11. State 2 problems faced by trade union movement during the colonial period in Kenya. 2 marks. It had insufficient funds to run its activities. The colonial government harassed its leaders. Constant wrangling among the leaders which weakened the movement, poor leadership. Most people did not support trade unions due to ignorance. Any 2x1 equals 2 marks. 12. State 1 change introduced by the Littleton Constitution of 1954 that benefited the Africans in the struggle for independence. 1 mark. It led to the establishment of a multiracial council of ministers to replace the governor's executive council. The ban on political organizations was lifted, allowed political organizations to operate at district level. 1x1 equals 1 mark. 13. What was the main contribution of Thomas Joseph Amboya to the history of Kenya? He organized the trade union movement. 1x1 equals 1 mark. 14. State the main functions of Parliament in Kenya. 1 mark. To make laws. 1x1 equals 1 mark. 15. Give 1 member of the AEMO at its inception in 1957. 1 mark. Daniel Arap Moi. Masson Muliro. Lawrence Oguta. James Mimi. Tom Amboya. Ronald Nala. Bernard Mate. Oginga Odinga. Any 1x1 equals 1 mark. 16. Name the education commission that recommended the introduction of 8.4.4 education system in Kenya. 1 mark. McKay Report Commission. 1x1 equals 1 mark. 17. Give 2 external sources of government revenue in Kenya. 2 marks. Loans. Grants. Donations. Any 2x1 equals 2 marks. Section B, 45 marks. 18a. State 5 economic activities of the Borana during the pre-colonial period. 5 marks. They participated in trade. They kept livestock. They hunted wild animals. They were gathers. They practiced crafts. They practiced fishing. They made iron tools. They grew food crops. Any 5 marks x1 equals 5 marks. B. Describe the social organization of the Maasai during the pre-colonial period. 10 marks. The lowest social unit was the family, which comprised of the father, his wife. Any 5 points x2 equals 10 marks. 19. The lowest social unit was the family, which comprised of the father, his wife, wives, and children. Several related families formed a clan. The Maasai were organized into age groups, age sets, which were made up of people who were circumcised at the same period. There was a warrior class whose duty was to defend the community, conduct raids. The Maasai believed in the existence of a supreme god, Enkai, who was the creator of the universe. There was a religious leader, Laban, who mediated between the community and Enkai. They offered sacrifices to God in special places, celebrated the century that marked graduation of Martin. They believed in the existence of ancestral spirits whom they revered. Any 5 points x2 equals 10 marks. 19a. State 3 reasons for the coming of the Portuguese to the Kenyan coast in the 15th century. They wanted to find a sea route to India. They wanted to spread Christianity, reduce the Muslim influence. They wanted to take part in the coastal trade. To control strategic points on the East African coast from other European rivals, to act as a supply base for their sailing vessels. Due to desire for exploration, adventure. Any 3x1 equals 3 marks. B. Explain 6 effects of the Portuguese rule on the East African coast. 12 marks. The Portuguese built Fort Jesus for defense purpose, which later became a tourist attraction. Their harsh and cruel manner of suppressing rebellions led to loss of lives. They introduced new food crops, which are staple foods for many Kenyans. Constant rebellions against the Portuguese rule interfered with the trading activities, leading to its decline. The coastal towns that resisted Portuguese rule were destroyed and left in ruins. They educated the coastal people on how to use animal manure in farming and thus increasing crop yields. Some words borrowed from Portuguese language were used to enrich Kiswahili language. The Portuguese imposed heavy taxation, which impoverished the coastal people. They fostered good relation between the EA and India. Any 6x2 equals 12 marks.